Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today it's all about the name. We're going sort of in this crazy world trying to figure out what your name is. You're trying to figure out what my name is. This is a two-player game that is really quick, 15 minutes or less from AEG, called Rumpelstiltskin. And again, it's a micro card game. You're playing cards and special abilities. Think Love Letter meets Agent Hunter, both from AEG actually. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. This is a quick game that's usually played with 2 out of 3 rounds. Each player takes a card list and a deck. One of them's green, one of them's red. They are identical decks except for the color on the other side. Each player is going to shuffle and draw 5 cards from his deck and then keep this deck here. What they're trying to do is the green player is trying to find out who is the card on the bottom of his deck, and likewise for the other player. So once each player's taken 5 cards and their deck's there, the first player will go and they'll play a card. Simply in this game, you just play a card and then you do what it says. This is number 9, the shenanigan. Reveal the top 2 cards of any deck and then guess. So maybe I have this guy reveal his top 2 cards, and I know there's only one of each card of these in this card list here, and I know that he's not 5 or 7. So I know he's not 5 or 7, so maybe I just say guess. I'll guess 6. Now these would just reveal, they go back on, and the other player would look at the bottom of his deck, and he'd say, nope, I'm sorry, you're not right, it wasn't 6. And then it's the green player's turn. And the green player plays the 6, noggin. Your opponent reveals 2 cards from their hand at random, and then you guess. So the other player would shuffle his cards, he would show him 4 and 5. So this player knows that 9, 4, and 5 is not it, and maybe he guesses 8. I think you're Rumpelstiltskin. And he looks at this and says, nope, that's not right. And this continues on and on. So let me just show you what all the cards do. Now you've already seen these 2 cards. Let's go over just the rest of them. The number 2, you get to guess. If your opponent has the guess card in their hand, they must discard it. 1 is the bootstrap. Draw the bottom card of your deck. So if you think the other player knows which card's down there, he has a good idea because he's seen it, or he knows, you can use this. Also, some cards have reaction. Say the other player has guessed what my card is on the bottom. As a reaction, I can then play this out of turn and essentially draw the bottom card out of my deck so he's no longer right. This is a good defensive card. Let's see, we have Rumpelstiltskin. So this is the number 8 card there. Your opponent reveals the bottom card of your deck. So once you've seen it, they might need to get this card in their hand in order to stop you from knowing knowing it and then guessing. This number 10, you get to just guess twice. This is another defensive card, Flippy. You can invert the order of your deck. Essentially, you take the first card and you put it down. So if this was the deck, inverting the deck, you would just go like this. Put the top on the bottom on the top, and you'd put it back. So it essentially flips your card. This is good if they know what's on the bottom or have a good idea. The number 5, guess. Then look at the top card of your deck. If it's the guess card, you may immediately play it. Some of these cards, you get to look at your own deck, and then you could play this card and then immediately play it. 4, guess, then search your deck for the guess card and pull it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This is, if you have this and you know there's a card in your deck you want to get out, you play that one. And this one is your opponent cannot play those reaction cards, and then they guess. So those are all the cards. Essentially, you're playing one card, you're doing what it says until somebody guesses what it is, and you simply get a win. The first 2 out of 3 wins. Now, a couple more little rules. If you've played all the 5 cards in your hand, because once you play a card, you do not draw. So after your 5 initial cards are played, you might not have any in your hand. And if you don't have any cards in your hand, you simply just have to flip over the next card of your deck and do what it says. And if you have no cards left at the end of your deck and you have to do that, essentially you lose the game. Now I mentioned in my overview that think Love Letter meets Agent Hunter, both of those from AEG, and that's really how I describe this. It has that microgame, play a card, do what the card says with simple abilities like Love Letter, and has that sort of deductive and memory element that Agent Hunter has, and both of those games are very short, and so is this. So you put those 2 games together, and I think that's what you have here. Overall, I think, so there's a couple things I would recommend with this game is either print up or make your own little sheet that comes with a little sheet that has the numbers and the names. But really on the back side of that, they really should have, if they could have fit it, or maybe on 2 cards, placed the number and the special abilities. Because without memorizing and understanding all the special abilities right there, when it comes time to guess at your opponents, it's really just a guess. It's like, okay, I've narrowed down 3, 6, 5, 8, and 9. It's got to be one other. I'll just guess this one. And typically, you guess the one that's the easiest to remember. So I've already guessed 3 and 5, so I'll guess 4 because then I only have to remember 3, 4, and 5 because there's that memory element. Whereas if you really understand the special abilities, you'd say, you know what, he probably doesn't have a 4 there because you know, he did this earlier, and he wouldn't have done that if 4 was the bottom card, or things like that. There's different tells of saying, well, you know what, he might not have that because he would have played that earlier. And so knowing the strategy and the roles really makes this game a lot better. Where if you just play it the way it is and just randomly guess things, it's not that great. But the more you play it, if you print out something with all the roles, then for a quick little game, if you like memory elements and you like that sort of deduction element, this is one to check out. I will say that I enjoy both Love Letter and Agent Hunter better than this, even though this is a combination of both. Some people are going to hate that memory element, and for those people, you could always just, you know, throw that rule out, and ones that you've guessed, you know, write it down on a piece of paper and look at yourself, so you don't have to include that memory element if you don't want to. I believe its purpose was to be designed in as a memory element, but if you hate those but you like the rest of the game, take it out yourself and house rule that. So overall, not a bad game. Doesn't outdo any of those other two that I mentioned, so it's not going to knock any of those off the shelf. But if you're like quick games, micro games, memory elements, and deduction, quick, simple actions, something that will be over in 5 minutes or so, you can do it. It does feel a little random sometimes. You could win on the first turn. Guess? 9. Okay, I win. Well, that was kind of random. It can be. If that's going to bother you, this isn't the game for you. If that's okay with you, just play it again and just go down it. Then you might want to check this one out. That's Rumpelstiltskin.